Welcome to Real Estate Investing for Women. On this show, you will learn how to create wealth through real estate the blissful way. That means with very little stress and very little time. We talk about strategies, mindset, heart set, money smarts, resources, and so much more to ensure you're able to create the success you most deeply desire. Now, here's your host, Moneeka Sawyer.
Today, I am so excited to welcome to the show Jennifer Wehner. Jen got into real estate in 2003 as an investor, growing her buyer and investor business, and became the top agent in her office within the first full year of being in real estate. In 2014, she started her team, the Wehner Group, and in 2020, sold 373 homes and over $178 million in real estate volume. In 2021, Jen hit $198 million in volume. Jen is a mom of four, ages 5 to 23. Wow. She owns multiple businesses and investment properties and is also a Forbes author. She's a foodie, biohacker, podcast junkie, avid reader, skydiver, and a lifelong learner with a ton of curiosity and a wild imagination. Hello there, Jen. Welcome to the show.
Namaste. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I love the namaste. I was telling Jen, let me ground. And she played this little harmonica. She's like, I'm a yogi. It was so great. We've had the most amazing conversation in the green room, and I kept having to cut her off because I was like, I want the ladies to hear this. I want this on record. So hopefully, Jen, that wasn't offensive, but I just can't wait to share you with my ladies.
Hopefully I did as good as I did before.
So Jen, give us kind of a high level, how did you get here? Give us like 2 minutes of your story. Yeah?
Yeah. Well, I was built with adversity because I was a teen mom at 18 and I was going to college for Plan X, and I knew I wanted to work for myself, and I was in Orange County, and I was saving up all my tipping money, waiting tables at night, going to college for, getting A's, but for business, but again, didn't want to work for the man. And I was in California. I just did the math. I'm like, you can buy 2 homes and own them for the price you rent a house in Huntington Beach. So I moved here, started flipping, working with investors, invested myself, working with buyers, sellers, all of the fun gambit. Lost huge in 2008, but also pivoted quickly, and then started to get back in investing in 2011, grew my team. So here I am today. I'm a builder. I love building. I love creating. 18 years, gosh, how long has it been? 18, 19 years. Next year will be my 20th year in real estate. So I've also raised all my kids through real estate. My daughter bought her house 2 years ago. My oldest, she's 25 now. And she's made over $250,000 on her house. I'm like, okay, now we're going to take a HELOC at it and go and buy your first house and then rent that one out. And so I just love, practicing, seeing my kids being able to do it and being able to have something where you can leave a legacy, you can leave a mark on the world. And there's no other avenue that I have seen better than real estate, which is the American dream.
Yeah. I love that. That was such a quick, impactful story. I love when moms were able to help their children to start and create that same sort of empowering business, right? And I love what you talked about, buy your primary residence and get a HELOC, buy something else. That's exactly how I built my business too. So ladies, see, you're hearing it from somebody other than me. It's a strategy that works. And you can do that alongside the other things that you're doing, like she's going to college, right? She's building her own life, but you can do that on the side and build a multiple $million-dollar business, starting from this thing that's not even really your business. It's not even really your life, right? It's that sort of thing that's just happening because you have to pay rent anyways, right? So I just love that. So talk to me a little bit, because I know since you went through the 2008 thing, and as did I, that real estate really is a roller coaster, right? And so how can people get through it? It's cycles, right? So how do people get through it? And I do know that in Extra, we're really going to be talking about the resilient mindset. So ladies, we are going to do a deep dive on that, but give us kind of the high level, like what do you recommend to investors when they talk about the fear of the roller coaster?
Well, first of all, like I think if we all got into a DeLorean, we'd do a few things differently, right? And if I had gotten into a DeLorean back into 2008, now I had gotten into real estate in the end of 03. So 04 was my first full year. It was a good year. 05, I put Craigslist ads out and just sold homes like, it was no one's business, bought homes like it was no one's business. I even built luxury homes. So I got into development. But when the market crashed, I had to pivot fast because I had kids to provide for. There was no option. But sorry, I got distracted because I heard a noise. But that mindset of like, when I lost everything, and I really go back to that, because I think no matter where maybe you've never like lost as much as I have, or maybe you've lost more, but we've all gone through adversity or resilience in our life, and during that time, like it was millions of dollars below zero. That's how much I was worth. Mm-hmm. But, there was also an opportunity. Like this was 07 was the year that was just like flat. And then 08 is when it like blew up. Mm-hmm. But, for me, it was the collaboration of, where I knew I needed help. And so in 2008, I had got into an REO coaching mastermind. And started to get REO accounts. I was already working short sales, but now I was able to get these channel accounts and getting them at much, higher volume and scale where I can build from that. And
so what I want to do is actually do some definitions on that. Talk about REO and channel accounts so people understand what we're talking about.
Sure. So we've heard about, REO means real estate owned. It's bank owned. The home went to foreclosure and the bank got the asset back. Okay. And here in Arizona, we were extremely affected by the crash. Okay. So, I had read Robert Kiyosaki, and I thought I was setting my family up because all the money I was making from real estate, I was putting back into the investment side of things. But I didn't follow his advice totally because we weren't cash flowing on a lot of those properties. And then when the market blew up, I was so heavily invested in one thing, which was luxury homes that I could not sell. I owed 1.2 on each one. Each one ended up being worth $300,000 to $400,000 at the very bottom. So, but if I had the collaboration that I had now back in 05, 06, 07, I would have been prepped, ready, primed for the opportunity because I would have seen it coming. So it's like when we have to change when change is already here, it's hard. You're caught with your pants down. But if you change before you have to change, and so much of this is just in your mind, right? Like, so when you're the smartest person in the room, it's going to be a problem. So first of all, get yourself into a room full of smart people that have been where you're at and where you want to go. Right. And not just in terms of, money, because that's in skill level, that's super important, of course, but also like look at their lifestyle and their character. Is that somebody that you truly aspire to be like? Because when you're in a room like that, the energy and the focus, the direction, I might be able to see myself one pebble, step here. I'm a visionary, kind of put things together, step here. But maybe with you, I can see the third step, the fourth step. Maybe we bring a group of girls in. Now I can see a path laid out in front of me. But the resilience I had, because it was hard. I a recovered alcoholic. 4 years this year, I haven't had a drink of alcohol. But in 05, when I lost everything in 08, there were some times that like my alcoholism got really bad because I felt very, very, very defeated. But in that defeat, and I remember just crying to God, praying anything for it to happen. And, then I was able to, shift and, because when you had family to feed, you find a way, found a collaboration group, found that REOs. I was able to build channel accounts. So when I have a relationship with you, it's not just one home. You might give me 100 homes, maybe 200 homes.
So is that what a channel account is? Is you build a relationship with a bank? Is that it? Or what happens?
Anybody. It could be a divorce attorney.
Okay.
It could be an HR department. It could be maybe if you're an investor, maybe it's a hedge fund. There's so many different channel accounts, but it's going to be somebody that's going to be able to give you business over and over again. And maybe it's somebody that can give you business 20 units a year. Maybe it's somebody that can give you 200 units a year, but it's going to be somebody that's formed through relationship and opportunity. And, obviously you have to sync on like what they want, what you're providing in terms of value and what your goals are. But when you have those aligned and you can provide the best client experience, then that's what sets you apart. Mm-hmm. And that's where we're able to find that shifting that mindset of not just a growth mindset, but specifically an opportunity mindset. Because in every down market, that's when the most millionaires were made. And if I had known so much back then, I would have been more like you. I would have been, 2009 and 10, I would have been buying the heck out of real estate.
Which is what I did.
We broke those years. And, luckily I had REO and short sale and still resale business. And, I took every sign call. I was not too good for anything. I was selling $25,000 homes if that's what it took. Right. But then I was able to get to the next level where I could start to build again.
So I love that story. And I think what's intrigued me so much is really digging deep on that resilience mindset. And so I'm so excited about Extra. It's really like, how did you get there? I also want to hear more about the channel accounts. I've never heard it positioned quite that way, Jen. So we'll talk about that in Extra. I've taken a note because I want to definitely hear more about that. And I love that you gave a story, an example of we are capable of so much, right? And when you go into that place of despair, which I know so many people did in 2008, including myself, like what we can do. So for me, I was in despair because I had lost 50% of the value of my portfolio in like a couple of months, like 3 months. I just watched it all go down. And I remember, like you, I was just crying. I was huddled up in bed in the fetal position. Like, what was I going to do? What was I going to do? I managed to make it through. And part of that was my own positioning. Like I don't consider myself a super smart person, but boy, I did some smart things inadvertently by the advice of mentors and my dad that helped me to get through some stuff. I made a lot of sacrifices, as you mentioned, right? You're not too good for anything. You make some sacrifices so that you can keep your life going and that sort of thing. But I didn't suffer with the loss. And so what I really want to hear in Extra is what that mindset was when you suffered through that despair and the financial loss. Like, I think what we've heard so much on this show so far is people who got through it and then the strategies they used to get back on top, to get their lives back. And I know that you did that, but I'm so excited to hear about your mindset stuff in Extra. So thank you so much for the lead in. So we kind of know what to look forward to. And I wanted to ask, you have this interesting term about Renaissance real estate. And you talk about being a Renaissance real estate agent and investor. So could you talk a little bit about what that means to you? And I totally agree with you. This is another thing, ladies, we talked about in the green room. It's so exciting. So could you share that with us, Jen?
Yeah, to just kind of backtrack a little bit, I'm writing a book, The Renaissance Real Estate Agent, how to unleash the art of systems in your business. But when I hear Renaissance, now, yes, I was inspired by my love, Leonardo da Vinci and the whole medieval Renaissance. It is fascinating. But, here in Phoenix, we have absolutely been in the Renaissance. We here now as a nation are absolutely in the Renaissance. It's a new way of doing business. But like the Renaissance, so much of this is foundational. It's like back to the basics, back to the long-term foundations, because that advice still applies. You pick up Think and Grow Rich, still applies.
It does.
Pick Marcus Aurelius from 150 AD, still applies. So some of these foundationals still apply, but what we are also in is like a revolution, an evolution. Technology, we have systems, it's a lot more competitive. And anytime a market changes, like it's changing right now, like it's changing today, you have to be like the Renaissance masters where they were able to pivot, and they worked, they collaborated, they weren't trying to do this all solo. And, in that opportunity, where is that opportunity? There's an art, there's a science, there's a balance, but you find your individuality. You find what makes you different, what sets you apart. And I do have, I guess, I don't think it's a very, I have a strong opinion on something, that everybody is an artist, and when I say that, it's each one of us has our own gifts, and we each sometimes have our own weaknesses, but sometimes those weaknesses can be our gifts. Sometimes that adversity, sometimes those problems that come our way, they're really gifts in disguise. And I even think about that with my alcoholism. I'm an addict. I really am. Am I doing drugs or drinking? No. But can I workaholic? Can I even be addicted to growth? Yes, absolutely. I could be addicted to learning. But when you apply the art and science into your own life, into your calendar, and some of those foundational things like live by your calendar, you're able to set specific measurable goals. Like you have to have numbers, you have to know if you met your goal or not. You're able to apply your own individuality, your own gifts into the marketplace, create value. And that's what makes you the artist in your business. And that's what makes you an entrepreneur. That's what branding is. That's what when you look at the whole, as far as your legacy, what are you doing this for? Are you doing, where's your money? Where's your work? Where's your friends? When you are living more of a balance, when I say balanced, it doesn't mean I relax. Okay. I very rarely relax, but it's the way I live is a more balanced approach in spirituality. And when I am in a good spiritual place, I know my limiting beliefs and my fear are not leading me. It's my inner voice, my gut, my inner authority, and everybody has that. But when you can get past the noise, get past the noise of the media, know that you have to use media for your business. It's part of the technology, evolution that we are seeing. Use these systems to your advantage, but work into your highest and best use of time, because ultimately, no matter what industry you are in, time is going to be your biggest commodity. And I'm 44, time is fleeting. I am so aware of my time that I know what my dollar per hour is. I know how I'm spending it. I can look at my calendar and see how I'm spending it. I can look at my calendar for the past year. I can look at my calendar all the way up until the end of this quarter or the fourth quarter and see where I'm at. But I know where I'm spending my time in the highest and best use and what makes me different. Beyond, I think we have 80,000 agents here in Phoenix. So, how you're able to get to the top, it's a lot of Darwinism, but it's really that collaboration and that individuality that it's like, and one of the biggest things, if I can just give some advice, because it probably is one of the biggest things that I let get to be the barrier of me and what I'm actually capable of, is what other people think about you. Because as you get to, higher levels, you just grow this pack of haters. And sometimes those voices that you hear in your mind, like, oh, you can't do this, you're not good enough. A lot of times they're not even your voices. It's the voices of the other people that have hated you, that really they're just jealous because they don't think they could do it themselves. You have to start to drown out that noise.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I love that you said that. So there were a couple of things that you said. I love both these two things that I really want to highlight. Time is our most unsustainable or unreplenishable resource. I'm 53. What I've done in the last 50 years, I don't get back that time. So we can replenish money. We can replenish relationships, although relationships are going to really support your joy, right? We can replenish money. We can replenish a lot of things. We cannot replenish time. We cannot replenish our health. And so those two things, I love what you said about that, is we just don't get it back, right? So you want to make sure that anything that you do supports the best use of those things, the best development of those things. Of time, its use with health, its development. So I love that you mentioned that. And it's so key to success to understand what your time is worth, right? I think a lot of people, like moms, a stay-at-home mom is like, well, I'm spending all this time with my kids. I'm not really, being a mom is the most important job on the planet, right? It's worth your time. And because you're a mom doesn't mean that your time's not worth something. So those sorts of things, like those paradigms, you really need to understand the value of your time, whether it's financially or in relationships or in health or wherever it is, however you're using that time, be clear that you're utilizing it in a way that's going to support your bliss, right? The other thing
Absolutely.
yeah. And then what was the last thing you said I wanted to really highlight?
What other people think about you, oppression.
Yeah. So the haters, right? I'm always surprised. My show is all about bliss and joy and happiness. How many haters I have? I'm like, you should see reviews on my podcast where people are like, she's too happy, I can't listen to that voice. Or she's so fake, she has no idea what life is really about. People have said this stuff to me my whole life. And I'm like, wow, like, how can you hate that? But we all have our perspective, right? And it's not necessarily even jealousy. Sometimes it is. But what I have found is it's just they're on their path. And their path is not your path. So I can cry because those haters don't love me, but instead focus on the people that I'm really impacting and improving their lives with my voice, this voice that they hate, right? So,
you can love your haters too, because, sometimes it's that chip on your shoulder, anger is the closest thing to passion.
Right.
That's the best revenge. And you can laugh all the way to the bank. But when you are being genuine and living up, because only you know that, like when you don't make your commitment for that day, and you could even lie to your coach or, your team, whatever, I didn't make those 100 calls or whatever it was, but but when you start, honoring those commitments to yourself, you start to grow not just confidence, but self-esteem. And I think with women, sometimes we put so many other people first. We don't put ourselves first. And sometimes that's why we don't make these commitments to ourselves that we know we should be making.
Right.
And when we talk about health, if I could just go a little bit further on that, because I'm such a big proponent on it. I have ulcerative colitis, not autoimmune disease, and I almost lost my colon in 2015. And, I had been overweight. I hadn't been working out, kind of like past high school. Like sometimes you just become a mom and work and a lot. And, I also weighed 192 pounds. And after my last son, and that was after he was out of my body. So I still had all that weight to lose. And I got into learning more about my health, I will say I'm a junkie when it comes to podcasts and books, but I literally biohacked through diet, exercise, meditation. I no longer even live with symptoms of my autoimmune disease. And I still have my full colon left, and I've lost all the baby weight plus some, but I need to be in good health so that I can be the best mom for my kids. And I believe in quality over quantity when it's my kids. When I'm on with my kids, I'm here, so even if it's less hours, if I have 4 hours with them a night, those 4 hours could be 40,
it's magic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I don't feel guilty when I'm working, because I know I'm doing what I'm honoring my commitments I've made, not just to my business and myself, but also to my kids, so that I'm able to offer them things like, let's take vacations together. They can see through their mom that it's possible for them, in this land of opportunity and freedom, in the country that we're in today, that allows us to be able to build these businesses, multiple businesses, legacies, and just help more people. At the end of the day, that's what it is you're helping more and more people along the way.
Yeah. I love that. Oh my gosh, I just love that. Ladies, go back and listen to that again. That was beautifully said. So, okay, I'm I just want to sit in that. Because it's so true. I feel like I misstepped a little bit when I said that relationships are replaceable. I didn't mean it the way that it came out. Many of them are not.
Some of them are, though. Sometimes you do have to cut friends go.
You do.
And not for bad reasons. It might just be this person is not growth oriented. I don't want to sit and talk about gossip. I want to talk about, so sometimes along the way, you're cutting some relationships off.
Yeah.
Make room for other ones. And those ones that are important to you,
those you keep, like your kids and your spouse, or, your parents, those sorts of relationships. Yeah. But the other thing that you said about relationships that was so valuable is, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're never going to grow. And I think for our egos, we want to be the smartest person in the room. And what I have found is that if I'm the smartest person in the room, and please don't take this the wrong way, ladies, but I get bored. Because it's exhausting because you're carrying everything, and I feel it even in this podcast. Like, if I've got someone where I've got to carry the entire show, it's exhausting on the other end of that. Like, I need a cup of coffee. I'm not feeling drained. But if I'm talking to people that are significantly smarter than me, and almost every one of my guests are, I don't ever want to be critical. Everybody has something to offer me, every single person, right? But you can feel it when someone is elevating you. Right. And that's the thing that I love
about this. I was like, I have to get away at least once a quarter. And that's pretty much what my travel schedule has been, even though I should be traveling a tiny bit more. But, I had been really sick last year, and I think I didn't travel for like 3 or 4 months. And I was like trapped in my own limiting beliefs and the team that I had at that time around me. My leadership team is a new leadership team today. And it was exhausting. And I went to San Diego with my mentors. They had a mastermind. It was refreshing to see that, like, these lies I was telling myself, I couldn't do it, this is not possible, these complaints, this negativity. I go into this room where big things are happening. I am so not the smartest person in the room, but we all had different things to offer. I was so inspired and fueled and energetic that when I came back, I made things happen. I created my new leadership team that I have today, that I'm able to now pivot my time from 90% of my team to 10% and 90% on my network and, some other projects like publishing books. So, it was so integral to get away and not be that smartest person in the room, because you don't even know sometimes these limiting beliefs are limiting beliefs. Sometimes
until someone else sees it or says something completely different.
Yes.
Right. So, it's so sweet. I tell this story on my show a lot, and I think it's worth mentioning again here, is my little sister. She's my little sister. And we kind of have this big sister, little sister paradigm, like angst. She really, really does not want a big sister. She wants to be the big sister. And so we have this, it's such an interesting thing. And she says some things that are so profound, and I don't think she realizes like how insightful she can be. So I'm always really listening when she's talking, and one day she said about our nephew, we were talking about, there was something going on. He needed a little surgery. And she said about him, he's perfect just the way he is, as long as we don't compare him to anybody else.
Comparison is a joy.
Yeah, right. And so, but it was so interesting because I didn't realize that even me, I feel like I'm such an unjudgmental person. I was worried about this thing for him. But her saying that shone a light on my own opinions and impressions of what was going on in my mind about this whole thing. And it completely released and liberated me to accept him exactly as he was. And I think that's what happens is when you're in these conversations with people that elevate you, that you hear things, they challenge your thoughts, they challenge your beliefs, they allow you to release things and liberate yourself so that you can bring in more good stuff, right? And that's just in my family. It happens in the mastermind all the time, in my mastermind. So I just love that. So our relationships are very, very important. Some other things, speaking of relationships, you talk a lot about legacy, and it's not just relationships, but in lots of different ways. Could you talk to us about sort of leaving a legacy and how to leave it, and what's your perspective on that?
Money is obviously important, right? It's like people that say like money doesn't buy happiness just have never had like money or, it obviously it's not just the money, it's the security. It's having, when you are able to just give. I love to give. I think it's one of the most selfish things that I do. It's like when I give my money away or my time away to like a cause, it's like I feel so good about myself, and I don't have to plaster it all over social media. But the more money you have, the more money you can give away. And there's a certain point of money, like, where you have houses and vacations, and those are all great. Those are all fun to work for, but it's also more short term. At a certain point, like you're going to get to be at maybe a comfortable place if you don't like just live in desire and wants all the time. But when you think about the legacy you leave, it's a why that's so much bigger than yourself. When you think about, like, say, what our ancestors went through, maybe they weren't your ancestors, just some of the greats in history. And you can see what human potential is. What are your great grandchildren going to know you? Can they know you? To me, that is so much more exciting than just the house that I can buy and the second home and the vacations I can take. But it's what I can do with the money that I make. And it's the impact. And I feel like a calling in the world right now. I think we all know that like the world is not the most stable place, but what can we do but to just provide more value, provide, more, when I say value, it's like energy. You're putting energy out there into the world through your businesses, through a way for them to make their own value. And you're literally creating leaders. So leaders create leaders. You're creating whole energy movement that, maybe you will write a book. There will be a chapter in history about you, but your great grandchildren are going to know what you stood for and know, what is possible. And I think more than ever that imagination, that possibility, that's where it's at. That's where we can really find that magic that sometimes we've lost along the way, since like people squashed our childhood dreams,
Right. All with good intentions, right? But we have to bring them back. And I think it's really true, like this whole thing about giving back. Like I talk about it a lot actually on my show, not to brag, but to encourage people to understand that money can be a very, very good thing. Right. It was so interesting. I was talking to my Swami, who runs a school in India that I have been very supportive of, probably for 20, 25 years, maybe even longer, like 30 years now, since it began. And I talk about it a lot. And I remember talking to my Swami one day, and he goes, if you give this much money, we'll build a building and put your name on it. And I was like, that would be horrifying. Like, I don't want anybody to really know, because that's not why I'm doing it. Like, put some other inspirational name that means something on that building, right? Like my name doesn't mean anything to anybody but me. Do you know what I mean? So I love that you were talking about, you don't need to splash it around on social media. You don't need to make a big deal about it, but the big deal is what happens in your heart, right? And when you have the money, you can fill your heart up in that way. You can help so many more people on a small level, on a big level. Money gives you the freedom of time, right? So suddenly you're not head down, nose down. You're looking up and seeing in the world what people need and how you can help, right? So it gives you so much more freedom, not just financially, but it allows your heart to open just because you've got the time. You're not exhausted all the time. You're not working so hard all the time, right? You're now much more open to the world. If you allow yourself to be. There are a lot of people that have money that don't do those things. Right. They're more about the vacations and the cars and how cool am I? And when they give, everybody knows about it, that sort of thing.
And it's like, at that point, it's like, at what point does it become uninspiring?
Right.
Because I've never seen a U-Haul like follow a hearse. You know what I mean? Like you're not taking that with you to the other side. But when you're doing it for more than just yourself, you'll always find a way. It's like, I think we've all been like, if we have an appointment at 10, I'm going to be there at 10, right? And we've all had those like, I'm going to go to the gym at 10 and we don't go to the gym. It's like when you're doing it for other people, you're naturally going to be more inclined to show up in your best way because it's for them. It's not just for yourself. And it's that they say that accountability is the highest form of love. And I think as parents, it's really hard sometimes to have accountability when you just like want to make them happy. Here you go. Here's the money. Here's the candy, whatever. But when you know that accountability is the highest form of love. It's that discipline, it's that sacrifice. And, even love itself takes sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
If you say it doesn't, it's just a one-way road. And we know that's not the way it is with relationships.
Mm-hmm.
It's about both of you. It's about both needs, both wants. Are we aligned? Can we grow and do this together? And that's where excitement happens, that spark.
Yeah, I love that. Jen, I've loved this conversation. Where can people get in touch with you if they want more?
Yeah, well, I am all over YouTube and the website, but I would say the best way to instantly get a hold of me, and I check my messages regularly, is on Instagram. So Jennifer Wehner, Wehner. It will, if you just meet me, DM me. I have coaching products. We have a network. I just love to meet other people from other industries. We do a lot of cross collaboration amongst industries, and also staying on top of the cutting edge trends, because it changes as of today, daily.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Thank you for that. Yay. So we're going to go into our 3 rapid fire questions, but I just want to remind you, ladies, what we're going to be talking about in extra. We're going to talk about creating a resilient mindset and also channel accounts and how you develop those relationships. So we're going to be talking about that in extra. So I'm super excited about that. Jen, are you ready for our 3 rapid fire questions?
Let's go.
Okay, good. Yay. Okay. So Jen, tell us one super tip on getting started investing in real estate.
I'm going to go to a foundational, begin with the long game in mind, and have a plan. Okay. So, because I don't know, wherever you're starting out, you might have, $10,000 saved up. You might have $20,000 saved up. But no matter where you're at, look at where you're at, what you're going to need. That's going to be that plan. I always suggest either coach, collaboration group, somewhere you need to have somewhere you're going to learn and gain energy from and stay relevant and learn the basics and learn that skill, learn the expertise that you need. So with that, find your mentor, find your tribe, get your plan in place. And begin with that long game in mind. If it's short-sighted, if you're I'm just trying to make $1 million this year, and then I don't know about the next year. No, think about where you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And then you're going to look at the first year. So that would be my advice.
Perfect. Yeah.
Pretty generic, but it's one of those foundational things that you really need to have in place before you can start building the skyscraper.
Got it. And then what would you say is a strategy for being successful as a real estate investor?
Well, I would tap your maybe your wrist here and see if you're feeling too comfortable. Because if you are comfortable, chances are you're not playing the game. Mm-hmm. And it's sometimes you have to get out of your way to see the way. Mm-hmm. And so stop, take a moment. Look at where you're at. Are you on pace with your goals? Are your goals too small? Are you off your goals? Hey, can you increase those goals? And success is there's never going to be you get to the top of the mountain, right? Nobody reaches the top of the mountain. We all die, somewhere in hopefully we're going up the mountain, not mm-hmm. down, but where always keeping that thinking big. And, Albert Einstein said, and I use his quotes a lot and I just love him. But he said, logic will take you from A to Z. Imagination will take you everywhere. And I do have something called the spiritual wheel, and I actually calendar block this. And I do my spiritual wheel exercise every 6 months or so and see how balanced I am, how much I give myself in the spiritual box, the friendship box, the money box, the work box, self-care box. And sometimes if I'm lacking in one area and, I can kind of pivot that, say it's self-care. Okay, I need to, I just took up painting, for example. So now I have every Sunday time blocked, mm-hmm. for the morning time so I can paint with my mentor. So, this is the kind of thing I did because when I looked at my self-care, it was pretty low. Mm-hmm. And I know I needed to do things for myself beyond just going to the gym. Right. So when we're successful, it's are we really successful? Are we happy? Are we comfortable? Or where are we going? Where are we at and where are we going? So kind of a pause, repause, reflect, revision, recast, and then take action.
Got it. Wow. That was a lot of stuff and all so valuable. So thank you for that. And then what would you say is one daily practice, Jen, that you use that contributes to your personal success?
I think we do talk a lot about AM routines, but I don't think we talk enough about PM routines.
Thank you.
And the PM routines are so important. And, as a biohacker, I'm like, I can track if I've done my PM routines accurately just by my Aura ring. Mm. But, for me, like no blue light before bed, look at your calendar. Did you meet all your requirements? Like reflect on your day. If you have things in your calendar you didn't do, like say prospecting, take it out, put what you did, and then you'll have your plan for tomorrow. Give yourself your win. So you have that reflection time, and then you could kind of empty your brain out. Mm-hmm. You're not trying to think about, oh God, you're trying to go to bed at 10 o'clock and you're trying to think about what you were supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And then have like no blue light for 2 hours before bed. I know it's kind of a sacrifice, but not Netflix and you fall asleep to it. And for me, that could be a walk at night. That could be just, having dinner and exchange. Last night, I'm reading this wonderful book, the Motivation Manifesto. And I read that an hour before bed. So what am I putting into my brain before I go to sleep? Because where we go when we sleep, who knows where we go, but it's so important we're waking up. One of the things they say when you start bodybuilding, because that's what I do, is making sure you're sleep first. Why do you start with your sleep first? Because it's all about our energy. Energy is everything. So in those PM routines, really building a solid PM routine. So even if you're at a conference, you can go, maybe it's 20 minutes where you have that, that wind down time, that reflection, that meditation, and if you have a hard time meditating because you're an entrepreneur, I'm just going to give you a little biohack here. But if you have, there's a lot of apps that do it, Breathe, Calm. I like Frequency, and you can get a headset, the sleep mask, because you want to sleep as dark as you can, with headsets built in, so it's very comfortable. And I put my frequency music in, so my brain is being trained all night to whatever frequency I need. So if it's insomnia, if it's delta, I get a pick. But it's those PM routines that help me wake up where I'm like excited, and even if you don't feel excited, your energy levels are already amped up. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've had a bad night of sleep. If you kind of stack those, you're just not your best self. You're not waking up with the clear, focused energy that you really need to have to attack your day.
Yeah. I love that you talk about that, because we do talk a lot about the AM routine. Even I do. But I have a very, very distinctive bliss-focused PM routine also that helps me to sleep well. And so I'm not churning on what did I not get done? Or should I, all these things that we churn about, right? What did I not get done? Should I have said that to that person? Do like all of those things that happen in our mind? Right? But yeah, having a strong PM routine is so important. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It helps.
Yeah. Jen, this has been amazing. And I'm so excited to talk more in extra. Thank you so much for what you shared in this part of the show.
Yes. Well, thank you. It was an honor to meet you. And I've learned replenish. I was taking notes. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. And ladies, we are going to do more in extra. We're going to be talking about creating a resilient mindset. And we're also going to be talking about how to build channel accounts and what those are. So if you are subscribed, stay tuned. We've got more. If you're not, but would like to be, go to realestateinvestingforwomenextra.com. That's realestateinvestingforwomenextra.com. For those of you that are not going to be joining us any further, but are leaving us now, thank you so much for joining Jen and I for this portion of the show. I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, remember, goals without action are just dreams. So get out there, take action, and create the life your heart deeply desires. I'll see you soon. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you'd like to find out more about how to become a blissful millionaire, go to blissfulinvestor.com. See you next time.